My name is Davis Wardwell. I'm 18
My name
years
is
old.
Lisa
My name is
Hannon.
Noah Blunt. I'm the student pastor here
Trio
at Northside.
Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
David Thomas, here with Charlie.
Austin Gregory. Thank you for having
My
me.
name is Donovan
My name is
Jones.
Micah Aver. I'm a student at Lounge High
All
School.
right. Well, Mr. Charlie, you're going to lead us out here tonight on your Young Minds podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast, and today I'm going to have Ben Bayless on with me. If you introduce yourself, and we'll just keep on rolling.
All right, yeah, I'm Benjamin Bayless. Most people call me Ben. And a little bit about me is, so to start off with my testimony, I was raised in Valdosta in a Christian home, praise God, and, raised at Northside and in church. And I was saved when I was 11 years old. It was March 13th, 2016. And and from there, just, been growing ever since. Really in college, kind of took bigger steps and probably, just serving now and just at Northside and stuff. And
Definitely, yeah.
But, yeah.
So, and who was the youth pastor at the time when you, so you've been at Northside for a while. Who was the youth pastor at the time? Was it Josh Johnson?
It would have been, I don't know if I don't think I was in youth yet when I was
So,
saved.
okay, so you weren't. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was 5th grade.
So probably, so I think it was Josh Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was actually it was after I played Upwards at Northside, and it was after the Upward ceremony.
Nice.
The preacher, he did a good job. So
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So, when it comes to, you coming to NBC, like, how did you or your family, how did you decide, this is the church we want to come to? Because there's plenty of churches around here. So how did you choose that?
Well, right before I was born, my parents and family, they were living in Dasher, which is,
not far from here.
Close. So,
yep.
They moved more to kind of North Valdosta area, off of Skipper Bridge, and they were just looking for churches, and they decided on Northside, which I'm glad they did. I didn't really have a say back. I mean, I was just born, so
Right.
But I'm grateful that they chose Northside.
Yeah, man.
I've really enjoyed going to Northside and everything.
Yeah, and just to I'm bragging on you a little bit, but I've seen some of that leadership that you've been able to put just in my short time in the college ministry. You do a wonderful job, by the way.
Appreciate it.
And just saying, I've got to tell people this guy can sing. Okay, so was that your first time doing that?
Well, I sang in high school chorus. I didn't sing really solos much or anything like that, but people had just talked to me about it and kept asking me when I was going to do it, and I figured, if I can, and then I'll do it.
Well, because it was so funny, because everybody was like, "What? He's up there!" and then and also for me the song choice too, which was that was good for you, but also I've not heard Northside sing that song. Period.
Yeah.
So that was and that's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
And it was.
Are you talking about Where I'm Standing Now?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I haven't told you this yet, but that's the title of your episode, by the way, because of you singing that solo.
Nice. Sweet.
But that was, and that's another thing too. And I don't know if you can disagree or agree or not, but for me at least, the worship in the college ministry, not trying to diss on the youth, or whatever, but it's a lot more diverse in the way what the songs are.
Yeah.
Because I won't lie, after a while, I think we were singing 2 or 3 maybe songs or a handful of songs in the youth, and then it was okay, it's just going to be the same ones next week.
Yeah.
Whereas, we're doing songs like Look Where I'm Standing Now, and, and even some of the ones we did in youth, they're elevated because, we have Daniel and, Kirsten in there, and Ayana,
Definitely.
and they know...
Yeah, no, Daniel is a legend. I love Daniel. He does a great job.
Yeah, we know
really does.
more about music than I could ever.
He really is awesome.
Yeah.
And he helped me a lot, get up there too, just asking me and telling me, man, he's just go for it.
Yeah.
So,
that's really cool. Yeah. And before this hurricane was coming, I know you were supposed to sing again, on a Thursday, but then the hurricane was
I know. We'll be back at it soon. So we're on a rotation.
Yeah.
Where we have a couple teams for Thursday night worship, and so we rotate pretty much every week. And so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, bro. Definitely. So, how have you seen God work, at VSU and just around Valdosta?
So, at VSU, so I'm a freshman. Or no, I'm a sophomore.
I was about to say that wouldn't be. Yeah.
I'm a sophomore, so last year I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And just coming to VSU, I knew a couple people and some people that were involved in BCM and anything, and from Northside and everything.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to check it out, but it's really, it's taken off, the BCM and everything. And, all glory to God. And just this year, just the growth in numbers is amazing, and that God's working and using it. And I think really it's because how many students are like willing to be used and are willing to go out and go and sharing. Probably, I would say the most impactful thing we do is outreach. So weekly, students go out and they outreach on campus. They tell people about Jesus. They, and people are getting saved. Each week really. And the hurricane has, it's messed it up a little bit, but we'll be back and back and better than ever.
That's right. And just to preface for people, so because I know people that have listened continuously, they have no idea that the hurricanes messed me up really bad in terms of recording and stuff, because I had enough stacked up. But I haven't recorded since the end of August.
Wow.
And I was I was starting to freak out a little bit. It's Lord, you provided every time when something like this happened. Help me out again.
It's crazy, man. It really is. And that was another thing, and we'll see more in this week's episode too. Is the community come together. I'm sure you've seen that. The community come together during this time too. Definitely.
Especially with the Civic Center, right? That was really fun.
Yeah.
Even though it hurt our backs really bad.
Yeah.
That
was awesome.
And just
definitely
to clarify,
seeing people out working like that, it's a blessing.
It is. Sure. And we were, helping some of the military, with waters and MREs and things, and that's why our backs were hurting so bad with them 40 packs of water.
They're heavy. They get heavy.
They are, and and what was so cool, I think for me at least, was that, I guess in a weird way, I guess in my mind, I kind of put the military above, they're you know what I'm saying? I mean, they're people, definitely. Yes, but they're above me because but what was neat was just to talk to them they're just because they're people.
They're young guys too.
Yeah, I mean,
got to talk to a few of them.
Yeah, one of them I think was only 23, so he'd be in this ministry if he was here.
Very cool.
Which is crazy to me to think about. So what's it like being on the leadership team? We kind of talked about it a little bit with Strive and with the BCM because you're on both. So
yeah, it's definitely an honor. So just being able to serve in the church and at the BCM, it's pretty cool. Just being able to lead too and have that kind of influence on other people, is pretty awesome. And I would definitely encourage anyone to get involved in that way.
And so what's your role at the BCM? Because I know they have specific names for the roles.
Yes, so at the BCM, I am a point leader for the Happenings Connectors team.
Nice.
And so what that means is throughout the week at VSU, the BCM does 4 happenings. And technically I guess 5 because we have a big worship service on Tuesday, but Monday we go up there at 7:30 and we make waffles. We make waffles and we go out on campus. We pass them out, and the whole team of us is really awesome. Tuesday we do a tournament each Tuesday, and
that's cool.
People show up and they get prizes. And Tuesday night, of course, the worship service. Yeah. And let's see, Wednesday is the outreach day. Yep. And Thursday is what we call Theology Thursday. Nice. And so it's not as big of a crowd as the worship service. Yeah. And we get to go, or David teaches about, some deeper topics, I guess. And Miles Hannon's also done some, hasn't he went into some of that? He did a lot last year. He does an awesome job. Yeah. And he's crazy smart. He kind of reminds me of, he's like Badasta's Cliff. Yeah. You know what I mean? A little bit. He's kind of dressed like him a little bit. I know he's a lawyer, so it makes sense, but I'm his knowledge just blows me away. I'm it's amazing. What? But also at the same time, I can understand it. It's he puts it in a way to where it's it might be some because some of the stuff is out there if if you're really looking at it, but he puts it in a way where you're oh, I understand what you're trying to say. He definitely has that lawyer point of view. I think a lot of times how to break things down. Well,
I hope I never have to have a lawyer, but if I have to have one,
I want him.
I know who I'm calling, right?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So, for, we've talked about it a little bit, but for anybody that's new in the college ministry, like myself, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I mean, y'all probably hear this a lot, but put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Talk to everybody, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Because something that I think college ministries struggle with are like cliques,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of getting with the people who you're comfortable with and only talking to them each time. And then that really kind of limits, I'd say it limits the serving opportunities too,
right.
Because you never talk to anyone who may have an opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely just talk to people, network, even in the college ministry, network with people and get to know people. Yeah. And
well, you have to,
Yeah.
because, shoot, how did we start talking? I messaged you on Instagram about this. So, there's different ways to do it. Yes, walk up. The best way is to walk up to somebody and talk to them. But, if you're somebody like me who can't, stay in fellowship after, like, the worship services on Thursday, there's other ways to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, there's not, there's plenty of ways you can communicate with somebody. It's not like, when our parents went to school or whatever, we can communicate.
Definitely.
We have no problems with
something pretty cool that the BCM does is with all the new people coming and visiting, and so we get their contact information.
Nice.
And we have a team, I think it's called the Newbies Connectors.
Yeah.
And they take them out to lunch.
That's
and
good.
Share with them and just make them feel welcome. And,
yeah.
So
they kind of do what Landon does through Northside. They kind of do what. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know he's also a part of. He does a lot of the. Talking about Landon McCaleb, our connections pastor at Northside. I know he joins y'all sometimes on Wednesdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like outreach and stuff.
Yeah, he does.
And when I plan to when I'm not so busy at Northside helping people, because he's invited me to go out there a couple times. I've wanted to, but I'm like running around that church like crazy doing other stuff. But so now we're gonna go into like college and youth questions. You can like your opinions can like be more one way or the other. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But when you look at young people today, do you see hope, or are you worried about the future?
Yeah, this is a good question.
Yeah.
I think it varies from person to person who you ask.
Yep. It does. Trust me, it does.
I try to be optimistic a lot of times, and I think I do see hope, and because I think even just on like VSU's campus, just the work that God's doing and the fire that's lit and the people at the BCM and like, just the desire that I see in others to go out to share and to worship. Like, so we've been out a couple weeks now because of the hurricane, and people are texting in our group me like, hey, are we gonna have a service? And people are posting,
we're really
I
wanting.
miss this. And the thing is, it's not just leaders. Like, these are freshmen asking like, man, when are we gonna go back? And so I definitely see hope because people are just, they are hungry for it. Yeah. And just like Confluence, the BCM did a trip.
Yeah.
And
right before.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was, 1,000 young college students meet together worshiping, and but it's not only in Georgia; it's across the nation.
Hey, that's even more encouraging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like when you bring that up, it makes me, because we think about, of course, people are like when they're looking more at the youth. Per se, when they're looking, they're, going to church, things like that. We also look at the college, too, because, they're in, they're in the trenches. Not, high school kids are too. But, especially in colleges, because, you have people that are, coming at you left and right. Yeah. And, any temptation you can think of. Yeah. Right? And even on a bigger level than high school is, or middle school, whatever.
I think people get lonely, too. And just moving off from your family, friends, and you got to make new friends. Yep. You got to meet new crowds.
That's right.
And people are willing to do things that they might not should to fit in with the new crowds. And
That's
stuff.
right. That's good.
And so, definitely trying to reach those people is important. Mm-hmm. And but it's definitely encouraging to see young people. And stuff that's happening. I think you probably know about it, like the Ohio State thing that was happening.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like football players preaching and baptizing people on campus.
And I saw, was it at UGA, they were baptizing people in the back of pickup trucks or something at one point? Yeah. That was that was really cool.
It's going on,
And of course, this was was it a couple years ago now? The Asbury thing?
Exactly.
And, again, that was college students, and we have to remember where did all these great revivals start? They start with young people.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about the 70s. Like, they had a whole movie made about it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, no offense, but it's not the older generations that are starting these revivals.
Definitely.
I mean, they may come along.
Yeah.
But it's these younger people that are starting them first.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And, I feel like these little bits here and there, God's trying to show us that it can happen again, and hopefully it will happen again. We just got to keep praying for it.
Yeah.
I think it was the first Bible conference I went to. It was not this past one, but last year, I think. Like, it blew my mind. It was like, you had people walking up there like crazy.
Yeah.
And then,
definitely.
and then of course, just to bring him up because, he's part of the college ministry and everything, David Williams. Like, nobody expected him to walk up there, but he did, and I remember, and when I interviewed him, it was actually, his episode was the one that came out during a hurricane last year.
Okay.
And when I interviewed him, I remember saying to him, man, when I watched you get baptized, all I was thinking about was, don't smack his head on the stairs. Because he's so tall.
Yeah.
I mean, because Pastor Avi, I remember, because he was the one that baptized him, he looked up at him, he's like,
yeah.
how am I going to...
He can definitely be a little intimidating.
How am I going to logistically do this?
Yeah.
Well, and I've had to, it's funny, I've had to, tap him, because if I don't, he'll, because he's looking right over my head. So I'm like, hey, I'm right here,
That's funny.
But that was just one of the many things that I remember, people, and then, and sure, some people might say, well, it's just based off, people are doing it because of, a feeling or whatever. But you can't tell me that it's not encouraging when you see a lot of people, especially that don't normally go down to the altar and pray during those times like that.
Yeah.
Again, some people might say, well, you're doing it because it's the event and it's the feeling.
Yeah.
And some of that may be true. I'm not going to tell you that it's not. But, it's encouraging either way.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you know what, I should have done this months ago, but I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's going on, is very genuine. At VSU and, Northside.
Oh, yeah.
People.
100%. And I think what's so neat is how, and I know other churches are too, but how, because of, I guess it's because of David and other, a lot of the leadership team is from Northside, but that, that tie between Northside and the BCM, it's really neat.
Yeah, it is.
That not every other church around here has.
Yeah, definitely.
And being able to, I know, we hosted them, they, you guys went around, to a bunch of different churches and things like that, and right, it was that week, the welcome week, and then Northside was we had 91 kids in there that night. I think that was the number, and I was like,
yeah,
dude,
it's awesome.
Yeah, I remember taking some pictures in there, because that's my ministry role, and I was like, I can't even raise my arms high enough because I'm behind somebody. But it was really, really cool. To see. Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who's struggling to navigate this world in a biblical way?
Yeah, okay. Let me think. So, really, I guess I could go with, what may sound like cliches, stay in the Word, pray.
Yeah.
But I would say a big one, especially for people my age, is find the right communities and don't, you got to remember, we're not at it alone. I think, like I was saying earlier, people kind of feel isolated in college, especially Christians, because they get around a bunch of unbelievers. They feel like, how am I supposed to, stay steady in my faith when I'm around all of this, all the world and everything like that. Yeah. So I would say definitely, because the communities are there, the right communities. It's just seek them out. Right. And because community is where you find encouragement and edification. And, that's right. And a lot of growth comes from being a part of that. And that's what's so awesome about the BCM is just how many people we might be impacting, keeping them out of, otherworldly things and, helping with that and giving them a community that uplifts them and supports them and prays for them. Right. And so, I would say the biggest one is, for people my age, is find the right community. And, use discernment, of course, and because make sure it really is truly a Bible-based
I'm not,
group.
And I'm not calling any, group out or whatever, but, I'm just giving it, an example. Georgia, right? I've heard EJ, from Baines, I've heard, he's like, I don't know about that one or this one or that one,
They're definitely,
and so you have to be... You do have to be careful. Yeah. Wherever you're at. I'm just saying Georgia because that's one of the big colleges around here. But, you have to be careful about anywhere where you're at.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely have to discern, you know, and look to the Word for what's right and wrong there.
That's right. I mean, even in your friend groups, like, you know, in, like, say, the college ministry, you have to be careful. I mean, look, you know, I'm not calling out anybody or whatever, but, you know, there's, like, with that, I'm just going to say, like, 91 people, like, that night, right? If you take all them together, there's, you know, the likelihood of everybody being, like,
yeah,
you know,
no,
you get what I'm saying?
I know what
like,
you're saying, yeah.
You know, the likelihood of them all, like, wanting to lead you to Christ, you know, is sadly very slim. Like, you know, most of them probably are.
Yeah.
But there might be that one or two people that, you know, you might be like, well, you know, that looks funner or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go that way. And
probably even more so, you know, with the BCM.
Yeah.
With the numbers and they've been getting and everything.
Right, and they've been getting a lot.
I think we got up to, like, I think our biggest night was, I think it was like 190.
That's crazy.
Or
I saw that.
More.
I saw the pictures. I was like,
yeah.
That's
amazing. You know.
You know that, and what I'm excited for is that that conference that we're doing. Like, you know, the new year. No, in the new year they're doing that. We're like Northside's doing that.
Yeah, Strive conference.
Is it the Strive conference? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Strive conference. I'm excited for that because we'll bring.
I'm stoked.
You know, like.
Yeah.
I mean, because another thing I've heard too is that I think Northside, and I could be wrong, I think we're one of the only churches that does has a college group. I mean, at least from what I've heard, there's not many.
A lot of them definitely struggle to get that age group, I think.
Yeah, and so like, and you know, and even I heard when I was in youth, a lot of churches were saying we don't have a youth group anymore. So like, there's a lot of a lot of churches they're struggling to get the young demographic in both those areas. And I'm just thankful that Northside does not have that problem.
Yeah, I mean, and the hope is with the Strive conference is that churches in like around the area and people from the BCM and stuff like that will come and join. And because it's not just for Northside, it's for
it's for everybody. Yeah,
everybody that can make it.
Right.
And so that's
Dude, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's gonna be really.
It's gonna be what, the new year, like January, something like that.
I should know the date, but I don't.
Dude, it's okay. We've just been through a massive hurricane, all right? But I think from what I looked, I think it was like in the new year. Sometime.
It is, yeah. It's in January.
Yeah. So like, you know, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, what temptations do you think young people like in college, you know, youth, whatever, struggle with the most?
Yeah.
You know. And how do they combat them?
Yeah. So. I think when it comes to temptations and, you know, the sins people struggle with, I think it does, it changes, of course, obviously, you know, from person to person. But I think, you know, for me, I probably struggle more with, you know, like pride and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of young people do. But I think for college students my age, a big struggle is like anxiety and worry and
Good one. Yeah.
I think because it's such a transitional point in life,
right?
And everyone around you makes you feel like you have to know what you're gonna do. You have to know. You have to know what job you're gonna get. You have to know how much money you're gonna make, and all these. They throw all this stuff at you to worry about, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the classes can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get anxious and fearful over those things, but how to combat them, you know, that one's tough.
Oh yeah, because it depends on the person too. Like what works best.
Anxiety, you know, is tough to combat just because it's in our heads, you know, and how can we flee from it if it's in our heads?
I won't lie, that is a bad one for me, especially like so I'll give you an example, just like for this, when it comes to like recording and stuff, if I don't have something out or if I don't, you know, something's not working out. It freaks me out, you know, because like, you know, I know that if I like said something like, "Hey, I'm having to change things up," people wouldn't mind. But in my head, I'm like, I've got to get this out because I've been doing it for so long, you know, and it freaks me out, you know.
I mean, I would say, you know, just for anxiety, I think committing good Bible verses to memory is good. You know, there's a lot of great Psalms about anxiety, of course. You know, be anxious for nothing. That's not a song, but. Be anxious for nothing but in everything, good things. But, you know, and I think just trying to give it over to the Lord and not worrying about it. It kind of takes time to get to that point of being able to just not worry about things. But because
tell me about it.
It is tough, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think I see a lot of young people struggling with that, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, too, you know, especially, and I've think I've said this about 5 billion times on this podcast before, but it still rings true. That, find that small group or one person that you can talk to about that kind of stuff too. Because, like, for me, that's helped some. It's like, if you can kind of, you're not, like, pushing that off on them.
Yeah.
But, if you can find that person or small group of people that's confidential, that, and they'll, help you through that, and they might give you a practical way that's biblical to, combat that and that you didn't think of.
For sure.
Because sometimes you got to put multiple eyes on a situation.
Yeah, people definitely, young men too.
Yep.
We like to kind of compress those anxious feelings and fearful.
Or any feelings,
Yeah,
at all.
That's true. And we don't like to talk about it too much because it's like, well, I'm not.
I'm
anxious.
a guy. I'm not going to be anxious.
Yeah.
No.
But so at the VCM, we have what's called D groups, and everyone on leadership, and there's like 30 of us on leadership. So we all get to lead a D group, and it's us and 2 other students.
Yeah.
And we have an adult mentor who's serving somewhere in a church.
Nice.
And they meet with us. Not every time, but they meet with us a good bit, and they're gender specific. So like I meet with 2 guys and the mentor, and that's a great time to talk about those things.
That's good.
That we struggle with, and have that accountability there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to combat that fear. Just
100%.
to talk about it.
Kind of reminds me of those groups like that. It reminds me of Did you see the movie The Forge?
I have not.
So
I need to.
So it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But they it's a confidentiality group, but they're reading the scripture and they meet together. Like I think it was like 2 times a week, or something like that. It was like often.
Yeah.
And, they held each other accountable. They read their work, and it was kind of like, and sure, that's exaggerated in what it's a film.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
There's groups like that, and you can be in them. And that's what it kind of reminds me of. And you kind of create this forge or pact with people that it's going to stay in that. That group. Those groups kind of remind me of like what shop is for the women in our church.
Yeah. It's just people you can confide in, and
and you need
help
that.
you, and you have to be willing to be helped. And
that's a big one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people today don't want to ask for help. And this is probably a dumb example, but here we go. So even I remember when I was younger, we were trying. My mom was trying to look for something in the store, or my dad would look for something in the store, but he couldn't find it. I'm like, just ask.
Yeah.
I'd be like, just ask. just just ask.
It's like directions.
Right.
People don't like to ask for directions.
No, and I'm like, we could be out of the store right now if you just ask them instead of having to look for hours.
Yeah.
But but I do think people struggle with that too, because they don't want to be like a burden. To people, which I felt that too. It's like, should I ask them for that? Or even if I'm texting somebody for asking them for something, I'm like, I don't know if I should do that. I'll sit there and some of that anxiety comes in too. Should I really? Should I really do that?
I understand.
When I should,
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to spreading the gospel, do you change your approach? When it comes to certain people groups, or an example like the LGBTQ, do you change how you approach it?
I think there's biblical precedent for that. I think, or in Acts, we see Paul when he taught different people. He never changed the message, of course. It was always Jesus, but he did change the approach sometimes. When he was talking to maybe Gentiles compared to Jews, he would start differently. With Gentiles, he would focus more on creation, which is the general revelation. But compared to Jews, just showing them how Jesus was the Messiah. And so there definitely is, cases where you can, change and not the message, but
just your wording,
the approach, and with your example LGBTQ,
and that's just a modern one. That's why I used it.
Yeah, no, definitely, that one's a tough one, because.
Well, it depends on the person you're dealing with.
Oh, definitely.
Because, and I've said this example before with Davis. I said there was one that I was talking with, and it was for the 1-year anniversary that I did with Pastor Albie and Noah. What I did was I went around to this one class that I had and asked them questions. Yep. What's the questions you have for pastors, that you want to get answered?
Yeah. And
so I asked one of them, and she said she was lesbian. And I said, but the thing about it was, she was more open to what I had to say. I don't know if she was being nice or whatever, but she wasn't in my face about it, And I'm just being honest, not everybody's going to be like that, you know. And what was a cool thing that kind of capped that off, like, you know, after, you know, 'cause she was younger than me, so she's a senior now. I went back to FCA and spoke again, and you know, she hadn't. It was the second FCA for the year when I came and spoke, and so, you know, I asked her. I said, "Did you go to the first one?"
Yeah.
And she said, "No, I didn't go to the first one, but a friend invited me to this one, and I had no idea you were going to be the one to speak." And I was like, "That's God right there. You can't tell me that's not." That's awesome. You know, but you know, I think it does depend on, because on the flip side of that coin, I had somebody who didn't take that seriously at all. You know, about answering my questions, or, you know, they were being combative about it. And what was interesting about that too was that same person, they felt bad for me, even though they didn't really believe in that. You know, but what I believe, they were like, they felt bad for me getting bashed for what I believe in.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, it was interesting. I will say that. And then, like, you know, if I had to do it over again, I probably would have done things a little bit differently, because I didn't know how to handle some of it. But you know, I'm definitely glad God put me in that situation, though.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. Yeah, we definitely run into, you know, a lot of people that identify with those people groups and whatnot on campus, and you know, we just really try to show them the love of Jesus, and because I think that's the best way to do it in most situations.
Right.
And but you know, obviously, we're not gonna affirm what they're doing ever, but we're gonna make sure they know what the Bible says. That's and right. What they're doing is contrary to what the Bible says.
Because, I mean, she asked me, I remember one time, she was like, you know, well, do you, like, hate me? And I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. I think you're a great person. Like, you know, we talk all the time, you know, I'm really, but I don't have to agree with what, you know, hey, there's some straight people I don't agree with what they do. So, you know, you know, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's okay to disagree with someone and still be okay with them. Like, you know, and this is, I'm not going to say who, but, you know, there's people in our church I disagree with. Yeah. With a church of 1,000, there's going to be. Yeah. You know, you're not going to agree 100%. Yeah. Because that's a bunch of different opinions. Especially, well, like, here's one example that we probably, most of us can disagree with, but, you know, it's like a civil disagreement. Sports. Yeah. You know, like, you know. There's a few Gator fans there. Oh, yeah, a few Gator fans, a few Alabama fans, you know, like, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep my trap shut. I'm not going to open my mouth, you know? Yeah. But, you know, and that's another thing is, you know, I think people also get kind of fearful like when they go up to talk to, you know, because they don't want to start, they want to spread the gospel, yes, but they don't want it to be, like, they don't want it to be, like, thrown back in their face, or they don't want to, you know, be, like, yelled at. I mean, who wants to get yelled at, you know, yelled at, you know? It's definitely... And reprimanded, you know? There's definitely a fear of kind of being rejected there. Yeah. And I think I was gonna say that earlier about the BCM does a great job of just like pushing people and preparing you. And so when we do outreach, David pairs people up, and if someone's new, he always puts them with someone who's experienced, and you know, they get to go a couple weeks and just watch and listen and that's good. And see how they share, and then when they're ready, then they go and they share, but they can always be with that person as like a lifeline. It's like that person may ask a question, and you know, they look straight at their partner because they don't know what to say, and just bump them. And so they do a great job of making sure that people aren't too scared, but also putting you outside of your comfort zone. You know. And this is just one thing I noticed with, so like, at least for me, they'll throw, you know, this is with anybody that doesn't believe, you know, they'll throw some wacky stuff that doesn't even, it's not even, you know, nowhere near the Bible or nothing, 100%. But they'll throw it at you to confuse you. Yeah. And that's what I kind of just had to, I remember I had to just kind of, you know, just walk away from it for a bit, because I was like, I can't answer your question if you're just going to keep throwing stuff at me. Yeah. Like, and I answered it, and you still didn't accept the answer. So at that point, you just kind of have to dust your, you know, and you just have to go leave at that point. Dust off your feet. That's right. Yeah. You know? So with the Boston mission trip this summer, with Northside, so our like focus point, I guess, the area we were sharing with the most was college. It's Northeastern College. Yeah. Or Northeastern University. And those people are smart. They are. Yeah, book smart. Right. Yeah. Exactly. They are, those colleges are just like very prestigious, and these people, they think they know a lot. They do know a lot, but that was probably nerve-wracking a little bit, if I had to guess. Yeah, no, it definitely was, and you know,
me and Elijah Alford
Yeah.
were partners each time, and we had some great conversations. But the thing that Will was telling us, and Pastor Will,
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about like intellectualism, and that's kind of what they fall under. Their God almost is their intellect,
Mm-hmm.
because they exalt it so highly, and so trying to talk to those people is tough.
It's difficult,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, but we really it really helped,
Yeah.
and being able to talk to them, and
I bet it did. Yeah.
yeah,
And I don't remember what exactly it was, but I think and you might have been with him. I don't know, but Davis was telling me about something either with the BCM or something. He went somewhere, and he went like to a Catholic church. I don't remember what it, but he said that was interesting. I think just to really see. I don't think they were like interfering or nothing, but I think they just wanted to see like this is what this is like.
Yeah,
and he
there was
like,
actually a lot of Catholics up there in Boston.
Really?
Where we were ministering. And
That's interesting. Yeah.
We had a conversation with several of them, and they were good conversations. A lot of times, the question I guess was, how do you change the approach? And with Catholics, a lot of times, me and Elijah would focus on, do you think this is work based? And they would, and point out that it's not work based, because a lot of times, it's faith for them. It's faith plus works instead of faith alone.
And you didn't have anybody when you're up there. They just like. Were like rude about it. Did you have anybody like that were?
I mean, there's always people that are like, no, we're not going to talk or anything like that. But I mean, we've had people at VSU kind of
really
pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
In their tone and stuff.
Yeah.
And when we ask them, it's like, hey, you got a second? It's like, nope. And then they keep walking, speed walking. Some people don't even look at you.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
And that was kind of the same thing because I went to Savannah. We went door to door,
Mm-hmm.
and
wow.
So I've never did that like even in our community.
That is nerve-wracking.
Now we were paired up. I was paired up with Micah Abra, and I'm glad I was paired up with him because he knows how to talk. I mean, yes, the podcaster saying he knows how to talk. Yeah, he knows how to talk. In a more way that people can understand, like biblical like principles and things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were going up to some houses, and I just you just get like an uneasy feel. Like I was with him. I didn't like. Just walk up there and stand like 50 feet behind him. But, it's nerve-wracking, like, especially, and this was just how it was. I mean, some people would open the door and, like, you get the strongest smell of, like, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And please don't censor that. Spotify, please. I'm begging you. But, I mean, and it was, and I'm gonna lie, I think that whole neighborhood we went in had a dog somewhere. Yeah. It's like, and I'm not afraid of dogs. I have them. Yeah. But, like, I don't want to get mauled by one.
No, yeah, you never know.
And what was so interesting was, so we kind of went at an awkward time, if being honest. We ran around 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know about this now, but we did it anyway. And, and...
So was it dark?
It was getting dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a few bats flying around. I was like, and there was a few people, that they were... they weren't mean, but, just like, let's get out of here, and then there's a few people that had the no soliciting sign, which, of course, we just didn't mess with it.
Yeah.
But there was one house that me and Micah went up to, and so he walked up to the door, because the no soliciting sign was, like, tiny up on the door. I'm like, if you don't want nobody to solicit, make the sign bigger, So we walk up, and then I'm like, Micah, get back. Like, he's already knocked on the door. I'm like, get back, like, but there was one house that me and him walked up to, and like that was like the highlight. Like, so it was this older military. I think it was Marines. He had a flagpole in his yard, the American flag and the Marines flag. Walked up to him. His dog runs out, was barking, but he was a nice dog, and but we told him what we were doing and everything, and we were for here with Cross Community Church. We were a church plant, and he was like, I just love what you guys are doing, and, God bless you guys, and it's cool to see you guys doing that. Yeah. But that made it all worth it right there. Even, and he even asked, can I make a donation? Like, and I was like, no, this isn't, that's not our church. Yeah. But we appreciate it, and so that made, so I think for when you're doing stuff like that, whether you're in Boston, Savannah, wherever, there's always going to be that one interaction that sticks out in your brain. It's a good thing.
It's like, yeah, now it's worth it. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
and it's all worth it.
It's all worth it.
That one is just really encouraging.
Yeah, because I mean, you need that, especially after about 5 or 6 doors are just not opened or slammed in your face. Like we had one that the dude just kind of. That's where it kind of freaked me out because you never know what's behind the door. He kind of just peered around the door, and I was like, see ya, but it is what it is. But yeah, so
that's a great question.
Oh yeah, definitely. See, we went on for I'm telling you, these questions you can go down rabbit holes.
That's a great question.
So if you could describe NBC in one word, what would it be and why?
Okay, so I thought about this question. So it kind of comes from what we've been saying in the college group a lot.
Yeah.
So Will says, "Let's go" a lot. That's not the word, but
he does.
He's like, it's kind of catching on a little bit.
He goes, "Let's go."
Yeah,
it's like that.
I think he wants it to catch on. He's like, "Let's go Northside," and so I think a good word, especially for the college ministry and the church as a whole, is like "go."
Well, and Pastor Robbie, that was the word he used when sending out all those missionaries, in Savannah.
Yeah,
he used that. Yeah. The whole church, we said, go, like all of us, as we were in our flag, and so you're right.
And I thought about it as so at VSU, people that already go to Northside like me and several others, when we're at VSU, we tell people go to Northside, go, and then when we get them to Northside, we're like go on mission, and
so it's just a constant go, and constantly going for the Lord.
Exactly, and so I thought maybe that's a good word.
That's good.
And,
that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
and hey, that's a unique one too, because I'm not saying that I've gotten some of the same ones, but I know I have. So that's one I've not heard yet. Okay. So when I hear new ones, I'm like, yeah,
there you go.
But what
shout out to Will.
Yeah, shout out to you. Yeah, and that. I'll tell you that I was thinking about that the other day, like his episode, like how long ago I've recorded that.
Yeah.
It's so old now, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to it.
Oh yeah, it's an old one. We sat in his office and did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
What is your life verse, and why is it important to you?
Okay, so my favorite verse is Exodus 14:14.
Nice.
It's the Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. I don't know. I just heard it a long time ago now. I don't even remember when, but it's always, I committed it to memory, and I just as a reminder, things may happen, but, the Lord's in control.
That's good.
We can trust in Him to take care of it. And we don't have to, and it kind of goes back to being anxious,
Yeah.
We don't have to fight, or we don't have to, be anxious. We just trust that He's got it.
That's good, bro.
So.
Well, that's all the questions I have, but is there anything, and I was asked, is there anything that you want to add or anything like that, words of encouragement or anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I just appreciate you having me on, and
of course.
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I love having these conversations, and whether it's recorded or not, I love having them.
Yeah, bro. And what's been fun for me is to get you, get the college ministry on, because this is everybody has their way of meeting new people, and this is one of my ways to do it.
Yeah. We really, we haven't talked too much, but this was awesome.
Yeah, man. And I've talked to a few other people like next week at this, so I'm trying to see about time wise, but talking with Owen right now, Owen Rucker.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
And and he doesn't know this yet. I don't know if he may listen to yours. I don't know, but the reason why I reached out to him was because I was taking pictures and I was kind of towards the front, and so he's up there singing, and I was like, he's got his hand up in the air, because not many people do that, but he's not obviously unashamed. So what's your story, right?
He's all about it.
And I was like, he's gonna be a good one, and I think he'll come right after yours. I think
he's gonna do we're doing lit. At BCM, which is leadership and training. Yeah. And so, part of how God's working at VSU is we have people that just started BCM this year that want to be involved, and they want to be on leadership. They want to do more. They want to serve more. Yeah. And so that's new.
That's good.
It's going to be lit weekend, which is a new thing we're doing, and so we're going to train new leaders, and it's going to be awesome.
That's really cool.
So.
Yeah. Well, we're praying for you and all that, and everything that God's going to allow you to do. And we're praying for this episode too.
That's good.
I think God's going to be able to do great things with it. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
Who knows, we'll be able to maybe do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, bro.
That's good.
With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.